Welcome to EL237, American Literature 2, from 1915 to the present. I'm Dennis Jers. Happy to meet you virtually. I've been at Seton Hill since the fall of 2003. I teach courses in literature and writing and journalism and new media. I love teaching a class like this because I get to revisit works of literature that I have known and loved for many years. I also get to explore and teach new works of literature that I've never taught before. In fact, on the syllabus is a play that I actually haven't even read yet. I included on the syllabus because Seton Hill University is producing this play in April. So we'll be reading the script and also going to see the play and analyzing it. I'm looking forward to doing things like that. So each time I read a familiar work, I find something new because I'm a new person. I notice different things. And each time I read a new work, I find something familiar because literature has a long history, and authors reuse patterns from earlier works of literature. Part of this class is about noticing that. The brilliant writers will do brilliant new things with old patterns, or they'll do traditional old things with brand new patterns. It's a really interesting way that literature makes old stories new and new stories familiar. Those are the kinds of things that I hope that we'll be able to talk about quite a bit as the course progresses. A Canvas will be the command center for our class, and here we are on the default page of Canvas. We'll be using other tools, including a WordPress reading response blog and a SoundCloud, which is a free audio podcasting account. Upcoming assignments will walk you through everything you need to know to use those tools. So I'm not going to spend any time talking about them today. Don't worry about that. There will always be small practice assignments that are designed specifically to work the kinks out of the technology before we actually have to do any serious work with the technology. So just trust the system. I think it'll work out pretty well. And if you ever have any technical problems, let me know so I can do what I can to help you. I'd like to call your attention to this syllabus quiz, which is obviously expects you to read the syllabus. Because the syllabus is there, you can find the syllabus by clicking here on this link. It will take you to a page that has most of the due dates down here. I'll tell you what due dates are not listed on this. I'll tell you that in a few minutes. But when you click here, that will take you to a Google Docs page that actually has the full syllabus with all my policies and everything you need to know about it. So there you go. There it is. I'm not going to spend any time during this lecture going over that because, in fact, coming up you have this syllabus quiz, which is open notes, obviously, but you do have to get a perfect score on that syllabus quiz before you can move on to the next assignment in that sequence. So if you click on the home view, that's taking you to this modules view, which has, we have some participation orientation module. We have some general discussion that just gets us through the first couple of weeks of reading assignments. This is a sequence in literary close reading. This is a sequence in the online discussion portfolios. There's also a sequence for the term paper and a term project. But probably more practical for you is if you click on the calendar tab, that will show you this calendar view. And here, for me, the purple assignments are for our online American Lit class. So this shows us that, today is, the first day of class is Thursday the 22nd. Most work in this class will be due on Mondays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Obviously, because this is the first class period, I'm not having any assignment due on the first day of classes, so I pushed these very simple deadlines onto Friday. So these are due at Friday at 10 a.m. I simply am asking you to watch this lecture and respond to it. And then there's the syllabus quiz, and then responding to an online learning prompt. I think all of those are pretty self-explanatory. All you have to do is go through those items on the calendar, and all should be well. Now, I don't consider an online course to be a watered down or an easy version of an in-person course. So what that means is, um, even though in this class we get the flexibility of not having to be sitting at our desks at a particular time in the same room, I do have regular deadlines because a large component of this class is reading assignments and discussing them with each other. And for the discussion to happen, we all have to be reading the same texts and basically at the same pace. So this is not the kind of class that's a series of standalone modules that you can do on your own. And as long as on the last day of classes you have all the work done, you get full credit. There will be regular deadlines on Mondays and Thursdays, and in rare cases, deadlines on other days. If Monday and Thursday are horrible days for you, of course, do the work on Wednesdays and Sundays. You don't have to do them on that date, but those assignments are just simply there so that uh, this class kind of stays in your mind twice a week rather than just having all assignments due one day a week. It's a little bit easier to forget a class that only has assignments due one day a week. So anyway, I will expect you to keep up with the readings, and I will start off this class by creating a Canvas activity for pretty much every assigned reading. But in the future, there will not be a Canvas activity attached to every assigned reading. In the future, what I'll ask you to do is see this item, Course Reading Weblog. That takes you to a page that has this URL. That URL points to, whoops, doesn't point to that one, it points to that one. There we go. It points to this course reading blog, course discussion blog. Now, you won't actually have the discussions on this blog. An assignment that you complete on Monday will walk you through the process of creating a blog for yourself here at blogs.setonhill.edu. If you've blogged for me already, you would just use the same blog, but if this is your first time blogging for me, that assignment will walk you through the process of creating a blog for the first time. So all the readings will be listed here on the outline. And this is just a start. Obviously, I have more, there's the rest of the semester that I have to flesh out on this page. But at the time that I'm recording this video, these are the items that I have for the first week and a half or so of classes, and that's enough to get us started. Okay, my assumptions about you as a student would include that you've graduated from high school or the equivalent, and that suggests to me that you know how to do the kind of things that an high school English teacher would ask you to do. Things like how to read a work of literature, which involves, looking up unfamiliar words and looking up historical and cultural references that aren't immediately obvious to you. Identifying and understanding things like plot and themes and character and tone and setting and imagery, those sorts of things. Understanding the importance of differences between your own world and the fictional literary world inhabited by the characters that you're studying. And other things that I expect you already to know how to do is to express your personal reaction to a story, saying, what you do like, what you don't like, making a personal connection between what you've read and the life that you are living. And I assume that you can do all these things because you can't graduate from high school without demonstrating to your high school English teacher that you can do these things. So since you're here in college, I expect you to know how to do those things. That's a solid grounding that your high school English teacher provided for you that we will build on in this class. And I'm going to ask you to build upon the plot summary and character analysis and emotional responses and studying the life of the author. Those are the sorts of things that work very well in high school, and it's an important part of understanding college texts. But there really are not any assignments in this class that will give you points for demonstrating that you can repeat and summarize the plot of something that you read, or that you can repeat in your own words the meaning of a poem. Those are sort of basic interpretive skills that I already expect you to know how to do in high school. So this class will ask you to do something else, and the early assignments, particularly assignments that are due on Monday, will walk you through very carefully what exactly it is that I do want you to do in this class. I've assorted these assignments in several different ways. Here's the modules view that's sort of thematic. There's also an assignments view that has the same assignments just simply regrouped so you can see 20% of your grade will be these participation assignments, 25% will be these reading response portfolios, etc. I'll let you explore that if you would like. But that's another alternative way of looking at things. And but again, the calendar is probably the best way to make sure that you're getting all the Canvas assignments that are due at the right time. But remember also, this course blog lists all the readings, and there may not always be a Canvas activity to go along with the reading. It will make sense over the next couple weeks as I start walking you through that. Okay, so here on the calendar tab, you can see this sequence of events that's due on Friday. Here's another sequence of events that's due on Monday. And I will start evaluating this stuff at 10 a.m. on Friday. This stuff I'll start evaluating at 10 a.m. on Monday. This is the lecture that you're watching right now. The syllabus quiz really shouldn't take all that much time because, again, it's an open notes quiz and you can take it, again, if you don't get a perfect score. And this online learning simply asks you to reflect on whether an online class is right for you. What are the pros and cons of an online class? So these assignments don't really represent a huge time commitment. This literary close reading assignment is about a 40-minute video that you'll have to watch and then respond to. This WordPress blog tutorial is another about 40-minute video that you'll have to watch and then respond to. And so what this means is, since I'm going to start evaluating these things at 10 a.m. on Monday, you should start these earlier than Monday morning. This Kilmer Trees, responding to a very short poem by Joyce Kilmer, each of these items, probably won't take you more than 10 minutes each. So what this means is watching this 40-minute video, and doing these brief exercises, which may take about 10 minutes each, maybe longer, that represents about an hour and a half, not quite 2 hours worth of work. And if this were a class that met twice a week, we would expect to be sitting in the classroom for an hour and 50 minutes on one day and an hour and 50 minutes on the second day. So although this looks like a lot of assignments, it really does not represent a huge time commitment. And in fact, if this were an in-class activity, most of this we would have done in class anyway. So this day does not really represent a huge request in terms of time compared to an in-person class. This set of assignments that's due on Thursday might require a little bit more. This is a short essay that I'm asking you to read the opening of Foster's book, How to Read Literature Like a Professor, which is on the syllabus and a required text. It's a very short introductory section, but I'm asking you to apply it to a literary work of your choice other than the poem Trees, which we might be sick of by this time. I'm also asking you to read chapter 1 and 2 of Foster and respond to it in this forum. And then this is a place where I want you to record your reactions to a short story called Bernice Bobs Her Hair. You can click on the link. You can find out more about that. If you were to listen to somebody reading Bernice Bobs Her Hair out loud, it would probably take about an hour to listen to it. So with an essay, some readings and a response, and a longish, not too long, but a longish short story, you might want to start on these assignments a little bit early, since this is a bit of a light day. Now, I will not usually walk you through the time commitments for each assignment like this. I'm doing it to start off just to let you know that I do try to pace these assignments, pace them out, and make this work comparable to what I would expect in a take-home class. But as with any class, there will be times that you can that you'll have to do a lot more effort to stay afloat when we're working on a term paper, research paper, or if I'm having you read a long novel that involves many chapters of readings. If you happen to be a slow reader, that week's work might take longer. If you happen to be a slow writer who's very fastidious and spends a lot of time drafting and revising, then on weeks when there's a lot of writing, that may take up a lot of your time. So the good students, of course, put in whatever amount of time is necessary to get the grade that they want. But I do just want to indicate that although this is an online class that has the benefit of flexibility, I do expect regular work on a regular basis, and there are regular deadlines to keep you on track. So do keep that in mind. All right, when I teach a literature class like this, let's go back to this. Go back to the assignment view. And again, you can see the reading responses, these discussion portfolios. This is what you will do on your own blog, and you'll learn about that in Monday's activity. That's the biggest chunk of work in this class. So participating in the online discussions is very important. This participation here, that's completing Canvas activities where you get a grade for every post that you contribute. These portfolios are more portfolio-based. I don't necessarily read and assign specific points for every response that you make to every assigned reading. Instead, you'll get evaluated on the portfolio system. So every couple of weeks, you'll collect your online responses and sort through them following a process that I will teach you closer to the time period. Okay, so as I go through this video that I'm recording, all the major assignments are already here placed on Canvas. Now, if you go, ahead here to the final term project and click on these links, you won't find much there. The placement is there, but there isn't a whole lot of detail when you get too far out. As these deadlines come closer, I will flesh out those pages. But so don't panic if you click on this, wondering what the term project is and you see blank text. I will add more detail as that comes closer. And one reason why I want to wait on that is because I want to find out how the class is going and what your interests are, and exactly how best I can introduce these things, which change from semester to semester as I get to know the special needs and interests and abilities of each class. Okay, well, in March, one of the activities we will be doing is looking at a tool called SoundCloud, which is for recording audio text. We will record our own oral interpretations of poetry, that is, reading other people's poetry and explaining how we are using our voice in order to read them. You don't have to have them memorized, but I still want you to be able to demonstrate the ability to recognize that poetry is designed to be heard. It's designed for the ear. So some activities that will kind of make us more present to each other in an online class will involve listening to what we have to say about poetry. Also on the list, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, Seton Hill is producing a play called She Kills Monsters in April. And that script is one of the required purchases for this class. We will read the script in advance of going to see the play. We don't all have to attend the play together. We can, but I do recommend that you go in groups because theater is a communal experience. We do not all have to attend as a class, but I am asking us all to attend that play, and then first we'll read the script and discuss the script. Then we'll see the play and discuss the play after we've seen it. So that will be an interesting experience, and who knows? We may have the actors from the play or the directors from the play somehow participate in this activity, and that might be very enjoyable. Also, later on in the semester, you can see there is a term project and a term paper. The term paper is a traditional research paper that asks you to do peer-reviewed academic library research, and I will walk you through that process. April 16th is the first assignment of that sequence. Around that same time, we'll start a brainstorming activity for a term project. This term project, I might call it a creative critical project or a final project. It's a presentation that uses both critical thinking and creativity to present your own unique way to present what you've learned in this class. students in the past have made short films where they act out scenes from works of literature, or they've created hypertext choose your own adventure stories, or they've written songs in which they spoof a work of literature or comment on it. I even had some students who I used to joke, you could even do interpretive dance in this, and well, wouldn't you know it, one year I had some students who were theater and dance majors who did in fact dance several different interpretations of important scenes in the work of literature. In the class, I had to guess what those scenes were, and the students would dance the scenes in several different ways, so that maybe a character who in the novel was ambiguous was depicted as evil. And the class had to say, you know what, I didn't like that interpretation because the character in the novel didn't match the way you interpreted that person on stage. So that was an interesting way of approaching it. I'm completely open to how you use your creativity, as long as you are also demonstrating in some kind of written component that demonstrates your intellectual critical thinking ability, that explains how your creativity allows you, enables you to make some kind of comment about literature that you wouldn't be able to make using any other medium. So we'll spend plenty of time on that as the time approaches. So there we have an overview, a very brief overview of the kind of mechanics of the course. My students tell me that if they simply do the assignments in Canvas, they just give each one their best shot and meet the deadlines, they're surprised at how much they learn. My students tell me that sometimes they think all these Canvas activities may seem like busy work, but they're often surprised at how much they learn just by following the instructions and doing what Canvas tells you to do. So really don't worry. If you're worried about, I don't know what to say about literature, I don't know why the curtains are blue, and I don't know why he's wearing a red shirt, that symbolism just feels like nonsense to me. Well, if that's what you feel, the book How to Read Literature Like a Professor is really designed for you, and there are other activities that will walk you through this confidence that comes from moving from, oh my gosh, when I read a poem or a story, I don't know what it means. I want the professor to tell me what it means so I can write it down and spit it back on a quiz to get points for it. That's really not the way I operate this class. I believe there are numerous correct ways to respond to works of literature. Now, the better ways will be supported by more evidence, the more convincing ways, the ways that are more likely to be closer to the truth. The less convincing ways will have less evidence in support, and there will be evidence contradicting those claims. So part of this class is making kind of a transition between thinking, okay, I have to get the correct answer that's written down in the back of somebody's textbook, to literature is all about making up whatever you want, therefore I can make up anything and get points for it. The truth is, somewhere in between, because like I said, there are multiple good ways, correct interpretations of a work of literature. The better ways are supported by more evidence, and it's that critical thinking process of finding the evidence and assembling the evidence and using the evidence in an argumentative, well-written essay, including paragraphs with topic sentences and supporting details and conclusions and so forth. That level of organization that builds the argument, that demonstrates your mastery of the critical thinking skills that you can develop in an American literature course. Along the way, I hope you will also encounter stories that touch you and that mean something to you and that help you learn something about another person's worldview. A novel is, in many ways, it's a thing that's designed to make the reader enter into somebody else's world for a consistent, sustained period of time, engaging with the thoughts that come to you from another time period, another culture, another person's experience. It's the word novel means new. The novel created was a new literary form, a couple hundred years ago, that allowed novelists to do things that literature had never done before. We don't have time to go into all that right now, but the point that I want to make is just that literature is not a series of things to remember. It's not a series of facts to spit out. It's not a series of lists that say, oh, well, blue always means sadness. Oh, except when blue sky means happiness. I'm not giving you a list of colors that equal certain emotional states. Instead, I'm going to walk you through a process of, well, if you encounter the color blue and it's the only color mentioned anywhere in the story, maybe it means something. What does it mean? What could it mean? And how could you find out what it means? That's a really, really simple, basic way of entering into a conversation about literature. But literature is a heck of a lot more about what color symbolizes. And so I would like us quickly to get past the question of, well, what does the blue shirt symbolize? And instead talk about some of the higher level things, which if you just follow along in Canvas and follow along the lectures that I've already lined up for you, just trust the way the course is designed and it will all start making sense to you. All right, well, that's wrapping up this introduction to American Literature 2, 1915 to the present. I look forward to seeing the work that you submit. Happy reading and enjoy your adventure.